So we went a little sidetracked. Oh, that's how fast it goes. We were just talking about wormwood, but now we're going to go into why I said peace, peace, and safety, safety, because I want to talk about the word Anubis, and I want to break down essentially light on Lucifer and on just deities of the past that have really bled over, and we've allowed a direction to take us in a direction without doing our due diligence to really render through a little clearer. So I want to shed light on this word Anubis, and because we brought up in the talk about the 222 that there's death involved in this. There's death that needs to be explained, but what is death? And we know that Anubis is the god of the underworld. Anubis is the jackal-headed god that was walking or delivered people in Sheol. He was the god of Sheol, and so he would have been in the underworld. So we're going to try to render this down. This is going to be a kind of
and technically that's where we live.
And we're going to discuss this.
Okay.
So go ahead and read this basic. So we're going to start with just Anubis. So let's just start this with Anubis. So go ahead and read that.
So Anubis is also called Anpu, ancient Egyptian god of the dead, represented by a jackal, or the figure of a man with the head of a jackal, in the early dynastic period and the Old Kingdom.
Okay. And so I have another file here with just some old deities. We have Anubis, Horus, Nu, right?
Yeah, Nu, yeah.
Thoth.
Osiris.
Yep. Right? So we have all these deities. And these are from the writings. I haven't read as Carrie's my witness and the Spirit's my witness. They're called the books of breathing, the books of the dead, the books of the earth, the books of the gates, and the books of the netherworld.
And the books of the caverns.
Books of the caverns, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I want to shed light on Nu. And now, Nu is a deity. And so I want you to read this for me, please, Kara.
Sure.
Let me just get it up there. So read it down to the highlighted, right there in that yellow.
Okay. Despite all the various creation myths that the Egyptians subscribed to, they had one thing in common: Nun. Wow, that's interesting. Even though the myths named different gods as the original creator, they all agreed that he sprang from Nun, the primordial waters. Nun was more than an ocean. He was a limitless expanse of motionless water. In Egyptian mythology, Nu, watery one, or Nun, the inert one, is the deification of the primordial watery abyss. In the Ogdoad cosmogony, the name Nu means abyss. The ancient Egyptians envisaged the oceanic abyss of the Nun as surrounding a bubble in which the sphere of life is encapsulated, representing the deepest mystery of their cosmogony. Nun, also spelled Nu, oldest of the ancient Egyptian gods after the father of Ra, the sun god, Nun's name means primeval waters, and he represented the waters of chaos out of which Ra Atum, began creation. Nun's qualities were boundlessness, darkness, and the turbulence of stormy waters. These qualities were personified separately by pairs of deities. Okay, I just have to say that is really freaking amazing. Consider Nun is a Hebrew letter,
right,
and the waters of chaos is the Mem.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Well, this is what we're going to...
I mean, this is... Many people don't realize this, how closely connected ancient Egypt was with Hebrew.
Okay.
They connect it to, right, those that came in that were in Egypt, but Egypt already had the languages because it's way older than what we're led to believe.
The Spirit had me shaking this morning.
Wow.
I've already done this file. This is why I represented this a different way and coming back from the 222 about the gift of the double portion from the garden. But I just realized when I went into it again, without being redundant, is that it was expansive to the point where it made sense to me, but it was so weighty that I didn't know if it really makes sense to other people. So I'm coming about death a different way to present it, then we can go back to the verse. So can you read this last one, this Anu?
Yeah. It's Akkadian, An, Anu, or Inu, or An, Sumerian from a sky, heaven, is the divine personification of the sky, supreme God, and ancestor of all deities in ancient Mesopotamian religion. Anu was believed to be the supreme source of all authority for the other gods and for all mortal rulers, as he is described in one text as the one who contains the entire universe. And really, that would be an Aleph, Nun, Vav.
Yeah. So
that's how you would spell it.
We're going to go there. So I just wanted to, first of all, state that all I'm doing is presenting information. My Father, all source creator, is what I deem him to be. I have just an intimate relationship, a spirit connect, that he is simply, it's a feeling and a frequency to me. I can't put my finger on him because
he's so vast.
I can't comprehend that level. And I see it in the language, and he's expressing himself to me through the spirit. And this is why my heart gets really heavy, because I know that there's people out there that are good people, that are asking amazing questions, and I feel very much in relationship with family, and I want to share this information. So I just want to be clear. By no means do I mean to bring confusion. I do not mean to bring conflict or a frequency of distortion or anything other than love, light, and peace. And through the frequency of what Scripture has shown me, and I connect it to Yeshua, to the Ruach HaKodesh, and to my All-Father Creator Source, who is beyond definition and beyond my limited perspective to define who he is. So how dare I? Other than he will reveal himself in due time when he seems and fits it necessary to do so. I am simply bringing things forward to say, I fear not, and I'm not held hostage to a language, or a lesser language. I simply see it as potential that I can extract. So
for greater revelation. Yeah. Which really speaks of expanded consciousness.
So can you go into the Strong's, into the Greek, please, into Strong's 12? If you just put up abyss, A-B-Y-S-S, it should come up.
Yeah, abusos.
Abusos, and can you go into it, because we're going to need to extract out. I'm using Greek on purpose.
Well, but that makes sense, though, right? Because the abyss, if it comes from Greek as abusos, that's where they would get the word.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So we can read through that. It's the unfathomable depth, especially Jewish conception.
Right.
Right? So go into the alpha, or the aleph. And so we have one, which we know that in Greek it's the aleph, but in Hebrew it would be the aleph and the alpha.
Right.
And so now go back out and go down to the bottom, please, of that, and you should see the word buthos.
Yep.
And then it means the bottom.
Yep.
And the depth.
Deep, right.
And you can see that in there is talking about the deep sea, right? The one occurrence of it.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to show that as reference.
Yeah.
Now I want to go into the word, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it organically, where we're just gonna step through. You can make your own choices. I want you to go into 6036, please.
Anub.
Mm-hmm. So now we have Ayin Nun Vav Bet, and I'm showing you potentials of Ayin to the Aleph.
Right.
The knowing to the one, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have this in one occurrence, and it's in Chronicles 4:8.
Yeah. And I see that there's an Aleph Tav before and an Aleph Tav afterwards.
Right, and we don't need to go into this because we don't have the time to do this, but I'm just simply saying, what if. Now we see Anub, but there's I'm just filling this thing up.
Right.
And there's a root to this that if you go down to, it's the same as 6025.
Yep, a grape.
A grape. And it's also, when you look into it, it's also very familiar.
To bear fruit.
Bear fruit. And it's also, if you look into this, it talks a lot about clusters.
Oh, clusters, but I just saw first ripe. So there's Bekuri.
Bekurim.
Right? That's the first fruits.
Right.
I mean, that's literally the first fruits. And the second feast day in the Book of the Covenant,
right,
the most important feast day that they celebrated was the Feast of Bekurim,
right,
which is when they would do a public mikvah. And the mikvah is huge.
So again, we're going to just kind of go through this a little bit just to get people food to know without stopping too much.
The Feast of the First Fruits.
So now, can you go? So now we have that as Anu. We're talking about the deity, and again, it's tied to fruit. And if you look at in that, it talks about being born in that. In the it should be in the 6036. If I just go back.
Yeah. Sorry. Born.
As born. Fruit is kind of in parentheses.
Right.
Really, it's talking about being born.
Right.
As fruit.
Right.
Right? A new man.
Well, and everything is metaphorical and symbolic.
But think of a new man.
Right.
Because we're talking about new.
Anu.
A
new man. A new man.
A new man.
Yep, totally. I'm tracking with you.
Okay. So, and again.
Oh, how interesting. Anub.
Right.
A new man that has built love.
That's exactly what it is. This is one that has been built. So
that's so amazing.
Right.
They have the eye to see.
I'm allowing for. Wow. Okay, so let's just move on from this because I still have a lot to go through on this. This will be a couple teachings, but so then go to 580, please.
580. Okay.
And this should be intriguing for some people because we're going to see some similarities in some language.
Anu.
But now we have the Aleph Nun, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And our God to whom we send.
Yeah.
And then it's Aleph Nun, Het Nun, Vav.
Right.
Okay.
Whoa. Wait a minute. They put a het in the middle of there.
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen a het added into the middle. And that's a letter that represents life, right? But it's in the middle of the root.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever seen that.
This also means the het for me. I've been in the het quite a bit over the years, and the het is one that has separated it out, and it associates to completion as a brother, and this is all about being a brother, sister, family of light, and it means that this one is completed and is separated out, knowing good and evil, because evil is just means adversary, and we're going to get into this in a second. But this is one is built as a brother, so brotherhood of light.
Oh, I'm seeing. I think where you're going with this. It's gonna mess with a lot of people.
Maybe, but.
Because of
we got a lot to go through first. We're going to be into many hours here of extracting this out to set people up correctly without causing harm.
I think it's amazing though that the het is between the two spiritual paths of mother and father.
Absolutely.
That's so amazing.
Yes, we have one lifted elevation, and we're going to see this condense here in a little bit. We have, through the revelation of the double yods, we have a standing, because the Aleph is really two yods and a vav. So we have double revelation.
Right.
We've already gone through that. Don't need to be redundant here.
Well, it's connecting heaven and earth.
But this, and now look at, but this is we.
Right.
This is a gathering, Anu. This is a people group that are now gathered as Anu. Right? And if we look at the contracted form, we have Anachnu.
Let me go down.
587.
Okay, I see that.
You can go into 587.
Yep.
Now we have it, so that's what it's rooting from. And now, so we have now Anachnu, and there's a lot of similarity with Anunnaki in this. Now, I'm not saying I'm not. Again, I can define what Anunnaki is, because this roots from Anoki.
Yeah, but Anoki, I am.
I am Anoki. Right. So, and this is what I'm trying to shed light on, is that everyone is fearful of, or some people are for the Anunnaki, some are not, but I can tell you what it is Anu Annunaki. We,
right. We are.
Anu.
Right.
Right. I'll try to break this. Well,
Anoki.
We are Anubis. And so we are those that tread over death.
Right. Totally comprehend that.
So now we're going to just gently go into this to see why.
So just a comment I'd like to make on that is that a lot of that has come from Zecharia Sitchin's work, the Anunnaki, right?
Right. But again.
And so, you're taking man's translation from cuneiform tablets, and there are things in codes that are put in there that if you don't have the ability to see the codes, you're going to translate it into a language, English, which doesn't render anything clear.
So
right?
Absolutely. So I could take this word, Aleph Nun Vav, and say one that is risen in meekness. That is we, right?
One,
Anu.
right, one who is risen.
Right. One who has risen over the waters of chaos through the noon. One that's arisen through the Vav, connecting securely in place. This is we. This is I. This is the risen one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we have.
Well, I honestly didn't realize how many times this word is used.
Yeah.
Like that's, wow.
So now we have so I didn't want to blow by that too much, but we have this Anachnu so just so people connect, and then Anoki. So the Anunnaki is a big deal for people, but if we can render it down clear, like we can debone it, then we can see that Anubis, Anunnaki, this is simply a people group, and when we and I am are attached to this, and it's kind of like right here, and so we can kind of find clarity in this. So did you go to 595 yet? Because that's the root of
No.
Anachnu, sorry, Anachnu.
Right, and then we have the Anoki.
So now we have Anoki, and now we have, right?
And so this is a singular versus the we.
Right. So that I just see it, to me it's really simple. I can say that we. So it's like we are this, but what is this? Because Anaki or Anunnaki is a name and a frequency.
Right.
Like we're finding everything, right?
Everything is frequency.
So if we can render it down to frequency, then we can say, well, we're already here, but what is it? Right? And so that's what I want to do. So now let's break down. So now we have a good little sample of Anu. Now I want to go to Bus. So go to 947, please. Now I'm putting two words together. Now in the Greek, I can say this. I could say Anu Abyss, because he is the god of the underworld, right?
Right.
So Anu Abyss.
Right.
Two words put together, and it's been rendered down. We call it Anubis.
Well, they do that all the time. All the time, especially in Aramaic.
So we are in the underworld.
Correct.
Anubis. And we're learning how to tread over it.
Right.
So now we have Bus in this, and now we have a Bet Vav Samek, and that means to trample down.
Well, that would make sense because you've built love.
So look at the
right?
first...
And it's the wedding ring.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
As the wedded ones that are connected in the heart level.
Go to Isaiah 14:25.
So in other words, building love is connected to the wedding.
Absolutely. These are built ones that are built sovereignty, and these are ones that are completely surrounded.
Hedged in and supported, protected.
Right, because they tread down.
Exactly.
So there should be an Isaiah 14:25. You don't need to go into it, just go into its peripheral.
Yeah.
And if you look at this one in the highlighted, that is the inverted Anubis. It actually says Abusnu.
It is. It absolutely is. Because all they had to do was just Anu, put the noon vav after the Aleph, and then have Bus. Anubis.
So, but we're talking about the Bus.
Wow.
We're talking about the hindquarter first.
Yes, we are, because we talked about Akar.
So now we're talking about what, because
that which is behind or last.
Really what has to be built first is this. You need to tread down first, right, before you can become anew.
Of course, that's why everything's coming down right now.
And the Spirit showed me this. I went, wow, so, and I will trample down him on my mountains, right?
Right.
So come down the mountains, right?
Right.
And so we have kind of a unique little scenario here, and I just found that, and I was like, well, that's really...
Well, and this mayal means the purpose of.
Right.
So the purpose of is bringing forth power and revelation to complete your journey in the waters above.
Right.
And then al has to do with ascension. So ascension on the mountain.
So I'm only showing these as potential. I'm not saying it is. I'm simply that the Spirit took me here, and I was doing my research.
It's great to present the question.
So now I want, because we're going to break this down a little bit more. I'm just simply saying all these connections with is this part of Anubis? I don't know, but I know that to tread down death, you have to comprehend what it is to tread down. And when I see an inverted Anubis right in this language, it's going like, we haven't become
Well, because everything's upside down here.
Well, there's no fathers yet. Ab, the
No.
Aleph Bet is the father. And so we're
Right.
building this.
Right.
We're building the one to become the fathers. And this is what has...
Because the earth has mothers right now, but not fathers.
Right. So is it Anubis in the earth first, or is it Abusnu that's coming, the built as new?
Well, you're presenting a really good question, and
Well,
I would say yes.
Right. So it's just,
From
again...
what we've seen, and we know the direct connection with Egypt and the sacred languages.
So
I mean,
if Anubis was here, showing that this is Anu, right? This is Anu. We're gonna just disclose a little bit on this.
Yeah.
But now we have this that they will trample down. But now it's a Busnu. So these are now the Abs, the fathers,
Right.
that are sovereignly built,
Yeah.
standing in arithmetically, surrounded in with the signet ring of authority.
Yep.
Risen in the nature
Incorruptible flesh.
as new.
As the new man.
Okay. So
the
now,
new man, that is father.
okay, so I'm
Yeah.
just giving food here, and then we're going to build this thing. So now I want you to
Wow.
go into,
Wow.
go to Psalm 68:20 for me real quick. And we're just going to look at some words, and then we're going to shuffle through this just to show you potentials of, so I can then build a case here, or a potential, just give a selection so we can choose.
And I will try to not get overly excited, but that seems to be my default.
It's all right. It's all right. And so this is going to build on itself. We're just going to see. And so now we see in this, just go to the word God and our.
Right.
Right?
There's
Lenu.
the new.
So now we have halal and a pasak
Right.
and lenu. Okay?
Right.
That's all I wanted to show that right now. And then go to Psalm 48:14.
Oh, there's so much there.
There's a lot
Oh
in
my
this.
gosh, there's
Yeah.
so much like in these words right here.
Well, we have this. We're going to do this.
Oh my gosh.
We're doing this whole verse. So,
Okay.
but it's not yet. I just want
Okay,
to.
so where are we going now?
So now just go to Psalms 48:14. I'm just trying to give pieces to intrigue.
No, I get it.
48:14, and just look at Eloheinu, so people can see our God
Right, for this
for this lamb,
Elohim.
Elohim.
Now it's connected.
Now it's connected, Eloheinu, and there's
Yep.
the Nun Vav,
Yep.
right? And so we're talking about Anubis, and so now he's tread over death. Okay, so now I want you to go to Strong's 6035 for me. Now
Okay.
this says Anav. It is not Anav. Can't be, because there's no V. There was no V in the Hebrew.
Right, it would have been a wa.
That
So it would have been na.
Right.
You're right. There was no
Right.
V.
So it would have had more of a new sound,
Yeah.
right? It has that inflection.
Na or a
And
wa. So na.
Let's go to the
Wa.
first occurrence, 1, 2, 3, and it's tethered to humility. Oh no, don't really mean to go into it, but we can.
Well, that's what you said.
I meant the peripheral. Sorry, I'm sorry. So just 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Easy as 1, 2, 3.
Right.
And now we have this is connected to afflicted and humility and meek, and it's connected to new.
Right.
Okay. And then you can go into a na, just to show them. But it's not to defile.
No. Depress literally.
Right.
But it's affliction, and if you go down. Wow, of course.
Right.
So it's the humble ones that have a testimony
Right.
as a witness.
Because we've already brought up in the last teaching we did about what? About wormwood that's coming, that
Yeah.
these will be the judges,
Yeah.
that they would comprehend the bitter, and they're coming into the world as the judges, and there'll be a testimony and a witness.
Yep.
And now I need to show what's coming, because this really ties into what's coming out of the pit,
Right.
and who's coming out of the pit, and it's
Right.
not going to be what we think.
Nope.
Because the pit, we're in the pit right now.
Yes,
and
we are.
Joseph showed us that by him
Yes.
coming out and then ruling and reigning as
Viceroy of
as
Egypt.
Viceroy of Egypt, right?
Yep.
And it's going to happen again.
Yep.
So now we have affliction, and then in that word, go to 6036, and that's what we just have.
Right.
So now we
Right.
have a new, right? So it's right there. So it's connected. So
Now it's Anu that has been built.
right,
Bet Tov has built love.
Right.
Built their temple.
right,
And how did they do that? Through humility and meekness.
right.
Who were once poor and afflicted.
Okay, we're gonna just do a couple more here. Go to Strong's 860, please.
Okay. 860.
Should be a donkey.
Yeah.
Okay, and go down to numbers 2221 because this is our numbers as far as working.
Right.
Now we can see that this is added, and what you do. This is what saddles the donkey and went.
Right.
What rode on the donkey?
Well, and right here it's yalak, so it's being able to carry a load.
Right.
The vision.
This is the burden.
Yep.
My burden is easy.
Yep.
Right. And then even in 2222.
Wait a minute. This is the gematria for think.
As a man thinketh,
Yes,
so he is.
kashab.
Right.
But it's the same gematria.
Mm-hmm. That's your donkey. This is the burden that because we've already discussed what it is to be as a seraphim, that it's all to do with rendering clear your thought through the olive Tav.
Exactly, and what we create.
This is how you take load on your donkey.
Yes.
Olive Tav.
Yes.
Nu.
Yep. Olive Tav Nu.
Right.
Right? First pass.
Yes.
Second pass.
And then
that
upon.
Gives you that. Yeah.
Then on the next one.
Rakab. This is the root of Merkabah.
Right.
And this is ascension.
This is ascension. And now we have Olive Tav. Right. Atnu.
And then it talks about the two again.
And I want to make.
Shannai.
So everyone's clear that noon is added. That noon Vav is added.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Why? Again, rhetorical. I'm just giving information.
Well, but that's the beauty of the language. Because every time letters are added and deleted, we should automatically ask why.
Right.
Because there's always a reason and a purpose for it. And you would never know that in English.
I want to give one more here. Go into...
Sorry.
I just want to bring it up because it's interesting that how we have Odin in here. It's Odin. Odinnu.
Where are you? There he is. Right? Way.
Right.
Odenu.
Way Odinnu. Right.
And T.
Right. And it's the eye. Right? It's the one eye. The ayin. So we have an eye patch in here.
And that's also witness and testimony.
Right. And so
that is...
Now Odin is a...
That is judge.
Right. Absolutely. So... And that's what they would have... And Odin would have been a later on deity. He wasn't established from the ancient. He would have been later on with the Viking era.
Right.
And so, but they carried something through. What
and
was it?
And he had the eye patch, and so he had the all-seeing eye.
And there's the all-seeing eye, the ayin in there.
Exactly.
So is it? I don't know.
But it makes sense, because it's the eye of the judge.
Right. And that's what it is. And that's what it would have been. They just misinterpreted his role, and they deified it as this.
As they had left out of the Exodus, their worship system was completely demolished when the northern tribes were defeated.
Yep.
Right? So in their defeating, they lost their temple, they lost their way, they had to create a new worship system.
Yep.
And that's what they did.
Yeah. So, okay, so didn't want to spend too much time there. I just wanted to show you as you make the decision. It doesn't matter to me.
But it's interesting because they said the Vikings were the tribe of Dan.
Right.
So Odin is the witness and the testimony that judges.
Right.
Dan.
Right. New. Yep. Absolutely. There you go. And so it is. It's the eye. It's the eye that sees, and that's what they're all about, is keeping their culture alive through Thor, which is thunder, right? And so they had then lesser construct or whatever reality they had, and they were just simply doing what they thought was correct based on what they were rendering. So we can debone that. So let's just go now to 4501. Let's bring it now back to what we can recognize as a deity, and look at the heart of Menorah, right in the core essence of that.
Nur.
Right? Nu. So now we have the Nun Vav right in the essence of manure. You can cut that out. Menorah in the essence of Menorah. Oh, I was thinking donkey. And I was still tracking donkey.
Manure.
I was going like...
Well, but it's because the word, it is nur. Nur.
I know.
So it was manure.
Manura.
That's funny.
Okay. So we have that, and now you can even go into that, and you can follow that route down because it's in the Weaver's Beam too, because these are all big things.
Right.
So there it is again.
Right. So we've been talking for a very long time about weaving garments, and I mean, our own personal conversation, I don't know how many times we've said that on this channel, but weaving garments is a big deal because the bride, her job before her wedding in the ancient Hebrew culture was to make her wedding gown. That's what she was busy doing.
Right. Okay,
And so again, a yoke. It's a yoke.
Absolutely, it's a yoke. It's connecting mother and father, and it's again the two. I'm surprised that in the description of even new, and then just render it down because it'll go to fire, but it'll go yod and then yod, and then we'll take it right to 5135.
A lamp.
To show that they are connected, because the vision is important. This is the lamp unto your feet. It's the vision that allows you to see what this is. And now we have fire, which is nu, nun, vav, resh.
Right, which was in the center of Menorah.
Which is in the center of Menorah. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nur.
All right.
So it's nun vav.
Right.
What we were talking about, having the resh added on top, and we know that that is a first fruit leader that's been risen from being poor and destitute, who has now become fire.
Right.
Or a light.
Right. So we're going to connect this now to back to the verse that we started out with 222 about the double portion of what is going on, what is death, and now we're going to kind of take this into a little further. Now we need to bring some light onto the jackal. So let's go to 338. We're talking about Anubis still.
Yep, a jackal.
So now we have a jackal, and now we have the Aleph Yod.
Which is the same spelling for island.
Right.
Same exact.
Well, it's from Job 22:30 actually, and he shall deliver the island of the innocent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll probably get to that in another teaching, but that's a pretty cool verse we're going to break down. But we're just going to build this case first.
Well, that Isaiah 13:22. There's Anah.
Right.
Anah, and then this word for jackal, yod mem.
Right.
Right. So that's actually a triple yod.
So.
Which would mean a triple yod goes to the triple vav. Because whenever a yod is put in place, the vav is meant to connect with that vision.
Right.
That's what it's always telling us. So this word right here would mean that it would go to the triple vav, which is 666, which is 9, completion of man.
Absolutely. So let's go to the next occurrence of this jackal. Let's go to 8565.
8565 as far as...
Strong's.
Okay, thank you. Yep. The Tav Nun.
Now we have the Tav Nun.
Yeah.
So we have Aleph Yod Tav Nun, but this jackal now is Tan, right? And so this is one is now, but I already know what the Tav is, and it's the frequency of love, right? But love in the earth is the jackal. It's the Nun in the earth. So this would have been Tan in the earth, but I already know that just by the frequency of these entities, it's saying love is now in flesh in the earth. It's
exactly.
now in as
in a flesh suit. There's an embodiment of this frequency while
right.
in the lower realms of flesh.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the Nun also means perpetuity.
Yep, activity of life, the seed of life.
Or an heir.
To create an heir, to propagate.
Right.
It also means to provide a strong base for the stalk and the fruit to be held up on.
Right.
In other words, strong legs to stand on.
Right. So, and let's take that to the next, compare it to...
Tanin.
Tanin.
Yeah, I know where you're going with that. Yeah.
Now this is serpent.
Serpent, dragon,
right.
Sea monster.
Right, but it also, if you go down further, it says, or a jackal, right?
Yep, yep. And I find it interesting as I'm scrolling down on the other side, there's quite a few of them that have a lamed added in front of it.
You're onto the tanin?
Yeah,
right.
Like lamed tanin.
And
look at that. Pharaoh.
Right.
And this is Haya, but it's Yod Hey Yod instead of Hey Yod Hey.
Right.
La Tanin.
And the first occurrence is in what?
And the very first occurrence is in Genesis 1:21. 1:2:1, which is our channel.
Right.
The great sea monster.
Right. And we have Het Tav Nun, Yod Nun Mem.
Hey Tav.
Oh, sorry. What did I say? Did I say het?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I need my glasses.
Hatov.
Hatov. Okay. And
But
then,
it's, I mean, that's two risen spiritual natures there
right.
that have been completed in the waters above. The
now,
great. And it's, look at that. It's the quote unquote great sea monsters, right?
Yeah.
And it's Elohim, Aleph Tav, dragon, sea monster that is great, Aleph Tav.
Right. And then even in the next occurrence, we see that, and we're going to go through these right now. We're going to do these. And then the next occurrence is in Exodus 7:9.
Yeah.
And this is when Moshe threw down his staff.
Right.
And now we have a lamed added.
Yep.
So he threw down the staff. Okay.
Yep.
And we're not going to go too much further, but we see also a bunch of lameds added to this.
Yep.
What is going on with, because this is teachings.
Yes,
this
it is.
This is a light teacher.
This is all a dragon.
Right. This is a dragon.
Serpent.
A sea serpent. But all it really says is that this is a light entity.
Yes.
This is an illuminated one.
Yes.
Without being, taking the fear factor of illumination. It just simply is one that is a teacher of light, and they're bringing the message of love forward, because it's right there. I'm a teacher of light, and I bring love forward in risen nature. I give the vision to the lower nature.
Exactly. And showing that they are in the flesh.
Yeah.
And then this next one in Exodus 7:12, it talks about that it's the risen flesh, the incorruptible flesh, that has now completed their journey.
I find it interesting. I was looking at this, and in 8565, if you go back to the Jackal, you go into the sidebar, and it's talking about the occurrences. And in these, I went in there and extracted out a few. There's one in Malachi 1:3, Isaiah 27, and it talks about, I need to go into these, from 8565. And so go into, see, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, there's one right here. It's Tanuba.
So go into the one that's talking, Tanuba. Go into that. And what comes up?
Isaiah
Isaiah
fruit.
27:6. Yeah, the fruit. So now it's connected with fruit.
Wow.
And then go into, please, so we can connect.
Gotta be kidding.
Go into the Lamed one. Go into
Wow.
It should be one Lamed Tav Noon.
Is it Letanot?
Yep.
And Judges?
I probably have that one too. Yes, Judges 5:11.
No, Judges 11:40, but it's Banot Israel.
Right.
Le Tanot Labet Patak.
Okay. Well, I just want to get some references here. So go back into.
Oh, look at that. This is Nakal.
Yes.
That's inheritance.
Yes.
Oh, it's right there. The inheritance, Aleph Tav.
Mm-hmm.
The inheritance, which is the Tav Vav, which is the mark of the Kayutha, because that's literally how you spell it. You're exempt from judgment as a teacher of light that is come as a dragon. Right?
So, and it's
And
new.
then it's,
So, right, new in the heart of that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And in the Med Debar, in the
Right.
wilderness, where
Right.
you learn to speak.
So
right?
these are dragons. Right.
Debar is how you learn to speak
Yep.
as a dobe, as a mother bear,
Yep.
to raise up bar, right? To select,
Mm-hmm.
to make pure and innocent the
Yep.
heirs to the throne through the living water teachings of mother and father.
You can go into
That's,
Job.
wow.
You can go into Job 33:10. You could, and if you want to see for the fruits in the field, Lamentations 4:9. It's the same new in the heart. It's Mem Tav Nun Vav Bet Tav. So these are built now. Bet Tavs.
Well, I think this is great right here. There's new right there.
Mm-hmm.
New, Aleph Vav Tav.
Right. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's like buying a blue truck. It's just like
as soon as you see it
it's
everywhere.
like it's everywhere. And this is really big to what's going on right now, that we need to know what this is, what transpires here. Because I've had a dream about the two water entities.
Yeah, exactly.
And where were they? In the rough seas.
Yes, they were.
And it was the two entities of the new.
Right.
And that was before I even saw this, and it was a vivid dream about what's going on. Okay, so go to Hosea 8:9. These are just occurrences that are tied to Tanin, to dragon. But you won't see it unless you go in. Hosea 8:9.
Yeah. Right there.
And Ephraim has hired lovers, right?
Yeah. Who he loves.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Tanu.
Yep. Okay. So that's really cool. I just wanted to show that. Now I wanted to go into a verse real quick to fill this up a little bit, to show why is it that we're, what is it with death? So let's go to Genesis 2:17 and let's bring it up as a lesson.
Okay.
And can you read it through the mechanical?
Yeah. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil not you shall eat from, for in the day that you eat of it, surely you shall die.
Okay.
Oh, there's that Miminu.
There's a meaning
The Miminu.
of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mother, the two sea entities over the waters of chaos.
Right.
Nu.
Yeah.
Read in scripture.
Yeah.
So let's go through this real quick just to show, like, you put it together, all I'm giving is pieces, and you like, interesting or not, or what do you want to do with it? I already know what I'm doing with it. I'm presenting it as opportunity or potential.
Exactly.
So now we have English, but of the trees. So of the trees, and we don't need to go in this very deep.
Well, it is quadrated, though.
Right. It's
which means it's a gift from God.
This is now...
This is part of the 144,000 that will have the eyes to see.
And if we go into the rendering, we know that trees, these are the ones that that would seek desire. These are the intimate knowing of desire, because that's what Ayin Zadi means.
Right. Well, then intimate knowing is the next word, da'at.
Absolutely.
And this is the hidden place on the tree of life.
But if we go into so we can render this down, because this is when you go into even the 6086.
Yeah.
Go to 6095. Same spelling.
Atsa.
Because that's the root of tree.
Right. And we have talked about this before.
Yeah. So go to
fastening and making firm.
So go to 6096. The vowel points change, but the gematria and the is still there.
Yep. The spine.
The spine.
Yep.
And then you can go into 6098.
Yep. This is just this is review because we have gone over this before.
So let's go
counsel and advice.
Yeah. So what is this tree? Is this right? But of this tree, what tree? The tree of counsel and advice.
Exactly. The
This will
give you intimate knowledge. Of love.
And we've already shared. Can you also bring up, please, while you're right there, while we're talking about this, the picture that Jesse rendered for me, the dream that I had.
Yeah.
While you're doing that, and we'll leave that up as just a. This is a rendering of a dream. And this is the spiral. That is the spine. That winding staircase. It's the heart, brain coherence that joins. This is the fountain. That's the Ayin. This is the serpent and the dragon of mother and father. This came from a rendering from a dream that I had, a stand-up vision. We have Pegasus in there that kicks open Mount Hippocrene, which is the hippocampus, which is the seat of the brain, where we either have fear or shalom. Who sits on your throne, fear or peace? If you have the devil measure of peace, then out of your mouth shall come a two-edged sword, or the stream of living waters. But
because out of the heart the man speaks.
Right. And so this was...
And this is Dob. This is the mother bear, the Dalit Bet.
Yeah, this came from a vision.
The doorway to building love. You either are or you are not.
You enter the fish gate.
Yep.
The lowly place of the fish gate.
Yep.
And this came from... This is actually Niagara Falls.
We already did a teaching of that. I'll link a connection to
perfect. Link connections. We don't go back into it. You can just share that, and so we can move beyond this. I just want to show that picture. Okay, so now let's go back into the word. And so now we have, but of the tree.
Yep.
And then... And
it's...
We also know that Yada...
So it's the tree of water.
The Ayin, the 30... That's a shrewd one. He is the most shrewd... Who is this? Who is this one in the garden? He is the most shrewd one of all.
Right.
Okay.
So basically the one that has knowing.
This is the serpent in the garden, which would be... We've already discussed that, about the seraphim.
Right.
And we're going to bring clarity to this.
But again, so this is the hidden place on the tree of life that Kabbalah looks at.
Yeah.
The Da'at, which is known to people as Gnosis.
Right.
This is the place of Gnosis in time. Ein Tav is time. which is good.
Absolutely. So now we have the good. So now we have tov.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can see that that's pleasant, agreeable.
And I love it that it says good means you're going to wrestle with
Right.
connecting to how to build love.
So go into
But it's good.
7451 so people can see that, because what evil really is.
Right. Adversity.
It's just simply as adversity. And we all have this, and this is the bitter works. This is exactly what mother is. It's the bitter works, and she is the adversarial component.
Because she's the bear, because if you don't match the frequency of the golden rule,
right,
she will be your adversary.
So, and then go into its root, 7489. Should be just affliction.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you can go into 7462. Just follow the root of it, because it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have pasture.
Right.
And we've already discussed that in some other teachings, but the pasture we're building, right? That was part of the building the...
well, this is what...
Sukkot.
To tend a flock.
Yeah.
This is what a pastor
right.
of a church is supposed to do, to tend the flock.
So you're in 7462?
To put it in a place to graze.
Right. So you're in 7462. So just go up and then go into A, B, and C. So people can see what evil really is. Because it's just an adversarial component that is, I'm an adversarial friend to you.
Right.
That makes the measure. If you eat of this tree.
Well, and it has a hay on the end of it. So as the adversary to you, but I'm coming to you as a friend.
That's what I'm saying, an adversarial friend.
To bring revelation.
Yeah, I'm an adversarial friend depending on where you are and who you are and how you want to wrestle me, Jacob. I will be a friend to you.
Right.
And we're going to break down who wrestled Jacob here in probably another session, and then go into the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I just wanted to show that it's not necessarily bad. So then we can just go down to, and it's not eat. Really what it says, lo, teach and be taught the way of one sovereign power. And because we're going to bring clarity to what this lo is. This is actually the teaching of light that shows you the way of one.
Exactly.
So it's because this is really the preemptive work to everything.
Yeah.
And because it's tied to the 369 and the Ayin, we're going to get there. But this is already going to be a long teaching. So then you can eat. Now we have the Tav, love.
Mm-hmm. Eat mother's covenant. She will teach you the way of the golden rule.
Love's frequency shall be your food. Eat mother's love. Absolutely. Yep. And then we have eat from what? Mimnenu.
Mimnenu.
Mimnenu, right?
Yep. Which means to be a part of, like a stringed instrument, but it also is the word for manna.
Right.
So eat your manna, which is the two teachings of mother and father.
Right.
The waters that will make you new.
Right. And then we're going to go into, and we also know that in that Memnonu, before you leave 4482, the instrument.
Yeah.
Can you go, because we want to render it through that, go into 4482A.
Hold on, I got to track it down. To be a part of an instrument.
Mm-hmm. You then go into A.
String of a harp.
Then go into B.
Men.
And then go down. Just want to show all the fingers that reach out that this is a portion. Right?
Yeah.
And then you can go into that.
Allotment. A portion.
This is a weighed out portion.
To count and to reckon.
Mm-hmm. And this actually roots out at Genesis 13:16.
To constitute officially.
Who can number the dust in the earth, right?
Right. Well, and then you have to have the hay first. So this is the manna, Memnoon.
Yep.
That brings revelation so that you can be marked with the Vav Tav, which has the new right there. New Tav.
Yep. There you go. So this is the portion.
And this is a fireman.
Yep.
Look at that. It's got a diamond quadrated.
Ishman.
Ishman with 144,000 through the Aleph Tav.
Yep. So you can.
And then the eye that sees, which is the fruit, Peresh.
Absolutely.
The mouth that speaks as a first fruit leader.
So then even the next verse is that so they can be numbered. The seed can be numbered.
The seed, Zirah.
Right.
Yep.
And this is this is the light seed. We're talking about the essence of light seed here.
Right.
This
Which
is
would be phosphorus.
so this is so you can be counted as Israel, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Just connecting.
Yep.
So let's go back to the verse real quick, and we're just going to roll through this one. I just wanted to bring what this is, and then the next word after you eat this, for the first occurrence of, go to 419, or 4191, sorry, surely, or of it surely.
Right.
But really that's moot, that's death, but the first occurrence is and surely.
Right, because they write it that way because it's double. It's
Right.
saying it twice.
Right.
Moot.
But now we have a tav.
Yes, we do.
Surely love will be death. Right? Now you're marked as an instrument, and you're marked in love. Because you're eating of the tree of love. And this is what's happening. It's the tree of love, light, and truth. Now we're going to try to render this clear, and hopefully people can see that.
Right, so that the golden rule, this is really where you're dying to self, though, right? Because this is where you learn to be selfless with other people.
Right.
You know, if you want to be served, then you serve. If you want to be loved, then you love. If you want to be encouraged, then you encourage.
Absolutely.
If you want people to give to you, then you must give to others. So you're really dying to selfish ambition and selfish nature, self-fire. The self-fire that will consume you. But not in a good way. Because you'll never build love that way.
Absolutely. So we're still talking about Anubis. So let's go to one more verse. Let's go to Psalms 44:5. This was up top. And then we're going to look at this one.
Okay.
So though your enemies will push you down.
Yeah.
Through your name.
Right.
You will.
Nabus.
You will trample.
Yep.
Those who rise up.
Yep.
Okay, so let's just go through this real quick so we just take a quick little gander at this without spending too much time. But we have through you.
Right, which doesn't have a Strong's at all. It's just the bet cough.
Right, one who is built and grasped.
Exactly, and been bent and tamed.
Right, so this is one that through you.
Through the languages.
Right, and then we have enemies. Now we have new again.
Right, so this is those who have completed the journey and have incorruptible flesh.
Through
that
you,
are new.
You are.
Right.
The adversary.
Exactly, because that's what Zar.
Yep.
Zar means to cramp and confine.
Through you, you are Zarnu. You will be seen as an adversary new.
Yep.
Right? One who's risen.
You've built love.
You built love, right?
And you did it by grasping a hold, emptying your cup.
Again, why am I sharing this? Because what's coming is this is coming into the earth as wormwood, that these ones that have built correctly are going to be coming in as judge magistrates, rendering clear what is and what is not in this conflict of what's about to happen.
In the inverse.
Right, and they will be bringing down and raising up what is necessary.
And so the measure standardment is love.
Right.
The golden rule.
So we see that even in that word we have the narrow. So they will be in the narrow time, in the tight place, they will be bringing clarity, right?
Mm-hmm.
As an adversary, and we know that already roots out, right?
Yep. Well, this is the root of Mitzrayim.
This is the place of trouble, right? The adversary trouble, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to push down. And I know I'm going through this quickly, but there's a reason for it. We just need to move through so I can get to the end, so we can start in. There's many teachings that to follow this. And it's only meant to hey,
there's something here.
There's something here.
Right.
So now 55 will push down. But now we have to gore, right? Or thrust. But now we have double noons.
Right.
And so now we have horns. Now we have these ones, because we know that Moshe, in the authority of his mantle, he came down from the mountain doubly horned. Right? In his authority.
Right.
He came down and where?
Koran,
right.
Which means to shine and shoot forth rays of light.
And on the first occurrence of this one and the second occurrence, if you go into that one.
Yeah.
No noon on those.
Right. So we are talking about a completely spiritual issue that has nothing to do with the fallen flesh at all.
Right.
Highly spiritual.
So then we can go to the next word, 8, through your name. Now your name, Beshemka.
Yeah.
So now we have one that's built.
Yeah.
As consumed in the fire, as standing over the waters of chaos, fully grasping as a quadrated one that of the measure of the 144, right?
Yeah, because they emptied their cup and they grasped a hold of kamatz.
There you go.
The vowel point, the language that brings forth revelation.
And then the next word will be 947, that they will, nabus, they will trample, but they will put death under foot and stand. Because the next word is what?
Kum.
Kum. But it's kum nu.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So this is incorruptible flesh. They were given the power to have incorruptible flesh because they connected to Father.
So they have put all...
And they started by taking the spiritual path that Mother presented them.
Now, lots of things can happen, because, again, everything gets really explosive here in the dynamics, because this is now the footstool in the earth, that the Father is now rested upon those he calls footstool, and they have risen upon the earth, and they become overstanding ones, and they have tread upon death as Anubis.
Yeah. Because our whole job is to find oneness.
Right. Okay. Let's do one more. Go to now. This
so really, this trample, it would have an Aleph in front of it, Anubis.
Yes, absolutely. But absolutely. Now, whether or not that it's saying, again, is this established, or is this saying that because it hasn't happened yet, that Aleph is waiting to be placed?
I agree that it's waiting to be placed.
Okay, it's conjecture, and that's left to the one to discern. I'm not saying anything other than what I already know of going like, I can already see potential here. So let's go to the other occurrence. Let's go to Jeremiah 42:6. And whether it is pleasing or displeasing, the voice of Yahweh, our God, to whom we...
Anu, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so again, just showing to people, this was how it was written, right. Anu, and instead in the synagogue they would call it out as the Anachnu.
Right. So if we can go through this really quick and just kind of go through this to show people, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it, but there's a lot in this verse, right? Whether is pleasing. Now we have good or displeasing again. Now we have back to good and evil, but it's not evil. It's again... We have pleasing and adversary, as in the tree, right? It's the same thing. It's the same concept.
It is.
Exactly.
But it's also the adversarial component that then becomes friend.
Right.
And shepherd.
Right. So now, because the first word could be a measure of mother, right?
Exactly, because it's
because mother is now is conjunction to pleasing.
Yeah.
A measure good. Now. Yeah. And measure is mother. That is also a measurement of 100, right? A cubit.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and so really this is saying good or evil, the voice of YHWH.
Right.
Really, because source is potential.
Source, right, and potential dependent.
One way or the other.
Right, and it's also
potential.
But it's also going to be dependent on whoever. The voice will be working with individuals dependent on where they are.
Well, and then this is the voice that is speaking to those who build love, Bet Tov.
Right.
That are separated, divided at this point from YHWH, because they need to go through the teachings of Mother, YHWH, to be connected to the revelation of Father, Vavhe, to then become Eloheinu.
Right, Eloheinu, right.
And this is, again, quadration.
Quadration. On
gift of God.
Yeah, on the Hey.
144,000, and then it has the Nu.
Yeah, and you picked it up in the other one about Eloheinu being the judges.
Absolutely, because it said judges and it was Elohim. I was like, that tripped me out.
All right, okay, so now we'll go through this quickly. So now we have...
and then same thing, Anu. Mm-hmm. And it's Asher, the happy and fortunate ones that are Anu.
So now, but this is the word for 947, to tread down.
Right.
So now we have Anu, and then 580, Anu, we.
Yep.
Right, and this is...
Shalak.
Anachnu Annunaki, and this is where you could easily transcribe in Anunnaki in here, going Anachnu Annunaki.
Right.
What is it? It means I will tread down death. I will become. These are the sent ones.
We are the sent ones, the apostles, because that's what that word means.
Right. And then we have
of the sea, Yod Mem, that are Asherah.
Right.
We will send the olive tav to you, those who are willing to empty their cup and grasp.
Atika, right?
Yeah,
so now
Oteka.
Right. So now we have grasping as the olive tav, the untranslatable mark.
Yep.
And then we have 2, Elah.
So it's El, the strong leaders teaching shepherds that have the power and authority that are connected in meekness to Father.
Yeah. And
to
then,
those who will Shema.
right, and then we have Shema.
But
right?
it's those who will take the spiritual path that will listen with the intention of obeying what they hear because they choose to go through the fire and the living water that
Right.
gives them the ability to see.
Right, mother raised them because they were obedient to mother Shema. They were obedient. They were able to raise. This is the first noon that was given,
Right.
and they were able to raise their nature through mother, through maturity. They humbly stand in that measure because of obedience.
And this leman, I already know this word. It means the purpose of, in the means of,
yeah,
the purpose.
yeah,
And it's from ma'an. So this is the purpose of raising up the intention of a light bearer.
This is where we get the word teleologically, where we can see that it's that distant telescope.
Right, like the telescope zooming in,
Right.
teleologically, yeah.
Right, so we're able to then
order that.
Right, this is the purpose, and it's like a landmark on a horizon, and we are able to vantage point perspective, be able to see the mountaintop through the telescope, teleologically, to see from a distance, to see the potential of
The explanation of phenomena.
Yep.
The doctrine of design and purpose in the material world.
Yep.
Which that totally makes sense from what we were just discussing.
And it has the Adelamed on the prefix of this. So that's what it is. It's,
Right.
This is
In the material world, this
Yep.
is explaining the phenomena
Right.
of what the teachers of light are supposed to do in the end and for the purpose of.
and the rendering, so we can
to
get
make people happy and
And
fortunate.
so again, if we keep it tethered to the beginning while we started this teaching, Anubis.
Right.
It's like life and death is in the tree of knowing what is through the journey of love. We're able to extract out the essence of the journey.
So
right?
we can tread upon, and this is why we overstand instead of understand.
Right. We know the adversarial component that produces, and this is Tov. This is good. This is the good tree that we've
Right.
eaten from. Right. So let's go through this. So now.
So teleologically, to the end that we would become happy and fortunate as those who would have fire upon their head, which is Asherah, which is Seraphim.
Right. So now, and we've already extrapolated that out so many times that
I know.
we know that.
Well, it's inculcation over and over.
So
and
that
over
leads
again.
right to Asherah, which leads to love, right?
Right.
This is now one who is fully encompassed in love, that it may be well with Lenu,
Right.
right? Now we have Lenu in here
The
with
teachers of light.
right
The new.
with no connection, but now
No.
so now we have Lenu.
And it's well, so this is what? From good?
Yes,
Tov?
Tov.
And it's the two visions
Yes.
that you have to wrestle with in order to build love, to become a teacher of light who has overcome the flesh, incorruptible,
Yes.
connected to Father.
Now it's almost
In
like
meekness.
it's almost like an inculcation or redundancy again here, because it's going like when. Right.
And this is the key. The key,
Yeah.
and I'm using that intentionally, it's literally what it says, but the key to this is nishma,
And we don't need to go there right now. We also know that 3587, one occurrence only,
is a
in
brandishing
and that's
of
in
fire.
I think it's in Ezra 6:9, I believe, and that's a brandishing of fire, and it's a powerful, powerful verse. But we don't need to go there. But we've done it many times.
Yep,
So now we have when you Shema.
right? The spiritual path
So now the spiritual
of
path, right?
fire and water, so you can see.
Right, and then we have the voice.
Right, the voice is calling out to those who will build love.
Right.
Bet Tov.
Then we have Yahweh, and then we have our God.
Through Mother and Father, Yod He,
Yeah.
and Vav He, Father.
Right. The power means in direction of revelation of Mother revelation leads to the sovereign stand of meekness of Father's revelation.
Yep.
So you may be called
Eloheinu. Right, so the strong teaching shepherds that bring forth revelation, giving you the power, because they give graciously and they give extravagantly in love, who have conquered the flesh. They are now incorruptible, connected to Father, that have the signet ring.
Yep. Okay, let's
As married.
right,
So, in other words, Queen of Heaven.
right. So we
That isn't too big of a verse.
no. We'll just go to this one verse. We're only going to look at one word. We're only going to look at it real quick, and then we're going to jump to another verse. We're doing a lot of verses here, but I'm trying to get a point. We're almost there.
Yeah.
So go to Genesis 1:2-1. This is our verse, not our verse, but this is exactly that it telegraphs through. And in all honesty, when the channel was named, This was found after. This is how the Spirit works, and going like, wow.
Yeah, like the Spirit gave the name first, and then the verse came up later.
But really, it's saying exactly the same thing. This is one back, 1 to 1. From 1 became 2, and 2 shall become 1 again.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep.
And this is what they are. And just look at sea creatures, right? But there it is right there.
And so this again also ties to Genesis 1:1.
Yep.
So created Elohim, Aleph Tav.
Yep.
It's the same. This is the same as in the beginning.
Yep.
The only thing that we don't have is Bereshit.
Right.
Because Bereshit was first, but then we had Bara Elohim Et.
Right.
And then the Tanin.
So we can go through this really quick without
the great sea creatures.
Right. So
yep.
Everything living, right? Living. We have
through the Aleph Tav, the whole ones that have been completed in their soul, Nefesh. It's where our will and our emotions and our soul is, which is actually located in the heart. And then the living, Chaya.
Yeah, Pesach, so we have a dimensional.
Yep, that are separated. But it's also a dimensional language from the moving things, which is Ramash.
Yep.
And we have the revelation of Mother and the Father's covenant.
Yep.
The head that has water and fire upon it.
Yep.
Asher, the happy and fortunate ones that have the fire upon their head. And then, I don't know this one. To team, swarm, and multiply. Well, yeah, I could see that.
Right. Well, it's abundance of waters. That is the teeming waters of abundance, right? And they roar.
Right. Right.
I didn't do any breakdown on this one. I just put it in there as an explanation to it. So we're just wanted to go through this because I just wanted to show you that he created the sea creatures from the very beginning. And according to their kinds.
Well, that's interesting because mean, memnun,
right.
that would be to be a part of, right? To be a part of their kind.
Right.
But this is one that's been empowered in their heart. They've been given the vision within, the teachers of light that have the Father's revelation, that are quadrated, connecting to the 144,000, and they've completed their water journey, now set in the waters above.
Right.
Because it was through the humility of the teachings they found from the first and the last, the beginning and the end, the Aleph Tav, that completed them.
Right.
So Oph, the eyes that are connected to the mouth, as the birds. So you can think of wings, because Kanaf means covering.
And that's back to that picture that we already drew, that the fountain of the all-seeing eye. That's the ayin. That is the full-blown ayin right there. That is all knowing of the tree of. That is the tree in the garden.
So this is also connecting the wings of Pegasus.
Right.
The two married, the two wings, the two covenants.
So this is a fountain of the deep. This is the tree in the garden. This is a wound-up DNA spiral staircase. Mother and father are now knit together as one in one body. The spine is now straight.
This is the sacred union, right, of the Kundalini, which is uniting the divine feminine and the divine masculine, meeting at the Keter, the crown.
And out of the flowing river, the waterfall, comes the thunderous water of the multitude.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. A lot in that picture. That's their kind. And this is, again...
and here, this is interesting because it's new. It's new, but it has the hay in the middle of the Nun Vav.
Right. According to the kind. Yep. Yep. So the revelation is now in between. And saw God.
And saw Resh Aleph.
And it was good.
Yep. Elohim. This is the key of being good. But you're going to have to wrestle that which you're going to connect to in order to bet Tav, build love.
Right.
So it's telling you the good choice is to build love. In the beginning, choose to build love.
Absolutely. And I know this is taking a little bit of time, and this is a lot of information, but the next teaching we're going to get to is going to be breaking down. I just needed to start somewhere because it was going. I said, okay, I need to break this component.
Well, that Nun Vav is huge.
I need to set it,
Anubis,
and I need to give it justice. So one more, Exodus 7:9. We'll go through this gently, but yet we won't go. We're going to skip a stone, and we're not going to let it sink too deep. We're just going to give potential to see what's going on.
So really, it's just kind of hearing the message instead of trying to look. I mean, we can fly through it pretty quickly. So just hear it with your heart, what the Spirit is saying.
Right. Hear what's saying. So when speaks to you Pharaoh, saying, "Show for yourselves a miracle," then you shall say to Aaron, "Take Aleph Tav, your rod, and cast before Pharaoh, and let it become a serpent."
Yeah. Wow. There's lots right here.
Right.
There's that key again, the burning and the brandishing of the words.
Right.
that are meant to give you power, means, and direction.
Speak.
Which, so that you can go through the dobe, the bear,
Mm-hmm.
as one who is an heir to the throne because you've been rendered clear and innocent. As an L,
Mm-hmm.
strong leader, teaching shepherd that has grasped a hold of the language and has completed the journey of the waters below to the waters above.
Mm-hmm.
And then breaking down Pharaoh. This is the fruit
Yep.
that has the eyes to see.
This is one speaking as the top, as the head. And
Yeah.
Again, go back to that picture. You don't need to, but that's Pharaoh. What that was,
Yes.
was that as a mouth, a head, and a fountain speaking in the revelation of authority, Anubis would have been Pharaoh.
Absolutely.
He would have had the knowing of what is life and what is death, and he would have tread over it.
And here's that Ra'a again.
Right.
So about companion and friendship, and I mean, that's huge.
Right. And again,
But Pharaoh would have had to know what good and evil is to render everything clear.
Yeah, absolutely.
To be walking the narrow path, because that's why they called him God.
Right. And again, remember, when we see serpent, it's connected to Jackal, which is directly connected to Anubis. I can extract it out, and Anu, abyss.
Right.
And we're going to break that down in the next teaching, what the abyss is and what's coming out of the abyss. But we need to build this first to say, what is this new? What is this new that stands and comes out of the abyss?
Right.
Okay.
I think it's interesting, too, that looking at this saying, Le'amar,
Right.
Amor,
Right.
speak of love.
Right.
Sorry, just throw that in there, but it's speak of love.
Right.
As a teacher of light. And then this is the word to give.
To give.
Natan. But
Tav, Nun.
yeah, Tanu.
Tanu.
So this is saying, give of yourself. The teacher of light is going to give you a highly spiritual principle here.
Yes.
To be as the new man built in love.
Right. So
covenant.
The noon is taken from the outside in its normal spelling, or its rendering, or its form, and is taken. Now the noon is placed inside, rising. And again, why would they do that? Right. What was given to you now is love has risen you from within.
Exactly.
And it allows that fallen nature from its original word. It's
Right.
taken the fallen nature, right, and now it's put it together.
Right. So this is incorruptible flesh.
Right.
So
You've been given now. Show them.
Right. But it's give.
Right.
Give of yourselves, teachers of light, that which you've grasped a hold of through the language, so others can complete their spiritual water journey.
Right. As a miracle. You are
As a miracle.
You are now a miracle, because even with that tav out in front, that's the frequency sign of a miracle. Show for yourselves, right, as the teachers that have grasped and compressed.
Right.
Show yourself as the measure of, because that right now is sealed up. This would be the same measure of Yeshua.
This is like mishpat, but without the fire. Shafat, to judge, but the fire is gone. So show for yourselves that you've already gone through the process. You don't need the fire anymore because you are of the light.
Look in the word right there. In that word, death is in that word. You are now light over death.
Right, because the pay, it's moot that has the pay, the mouth that speaks revelation from the inside, is a wonder, a sign. Wow.
So the frequency of the word of life and death is in the heart of the mouth.
Yeah.
That's what the snake is representing here in this word. Because again, if you go back to it,
look at that. To be conspicuous.
Right. To be
as a miracle.
Right. Yep.
And it's interesting because all of Vav Tav means the same thing.
Right.
And you shall say, through unconditional love, having the mark of the Father, the mother, right? Mm-hmm. The mother that comes to raise up the poor and the destitute through the way of the bitter first. Mm-hmm. The bitter that takes place between the Aleph and the Toph, as you're rendering yourself clear. Mm-hmm. Those that are marked in the Father's covenant, that are El, the strong leader teaching authorities, Aaron. Shepherds, Aaron. And this is interesting because isn't that one of the words that's used for the ark as well? It is.
And it's also a quadrated resh.
Yes.
So now you shall say El as an ark, because now you're a miracle. You have the mouth and the frequency from 4159. You comprehend death, but now you're the mouth of love that walks over death. You are now one in that risen nature, and you shall say in this measure as El, as the living ark, take the olive tav.
Right, and the reason why the lamed isn't there is because the teachers of light don't take, they give.
Right, and what I mean by take is like I'm only reading the English, but
so take your language with you.
Generously give and gently receive. This is how we use the transactive language of love.
Because you're going to compress light within. That sets you apart from those who have the covenant.
So give of the olive tov, because that's the measuring.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And cast it.
Well, and that's of your rod, right? Mm-hmm. And this is also talks about.
But it's not. But again, the lesser narrative is saying cast it before him. But this in this higher narrative, it says you are this. You're going to cast this as the face of Pharaoh.
Right.
So.
And it's connected to the tribesmen.
Right. So this language again, we're weaving between mother and father, and a lesser narrative and a higher narrative, so we connect with people. But if we go only into father's side of this now, of recognizing what it is.
Well, and notice that root is supposed to have a hay. But how often do you have a cough added in lieu of the hay?
Which word are you working on? Sorry,
the rod, staff, and the tribe.
Right.
You know, those that take the waters that they wrestled with, and they emptied out their cup so that they could receive the language.
It's almost a gift. It's almost like right?
Yeah.
Well, it's almost
it is, but matan has a noon on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the wedding gift.
Right.
And then shalak, so send it out.
But you are the rod, you are the mother, you are the measure, right? In the earth now, in the basket, you are now grasping this. Cast yourself.
Send yourself out.
Send yourself out now as the lipane, as the face of Pharaoh.
The face of Pharaoh.
The mouth, the head, and the fountain of revelation.
Yep, that is a shepherd, companion, and friend.
Right.
That is going to bring that. And before you, it's a lamed is added to the root. So it's a teaching shepherd of light. I mean, this is the lamed.
Look at you become.
Of course you become the serpent.
You're the serpent.
Oh, my goodness.
So he's only a type and shadow in the lesser narrative because it freaked people out. But throw down your staff is like, really, you are the measuring rod. You are the mouth. You are speaking as in the higher narrative. It's saying you are the serpent.
Well,
which we already know is, and we're going to end it right here. But we're going to tie it into Revelation later on. You can, if you want to go there, if you want to go a little bit to the Book of Revelation right now. I was going to go into.
Well, I just want to share this because so much of what we've been shown is like incorrect, and you've laid a very strong foundation for the jackal,
right,
and the dragon, and the sea entities. And when you see this of what it's actually saying in the New Testament, this is why everything that's in the New Testament, especially with the Book of Revelation, is completely upside down and backwards, and it paints a horrible picture.
Yeah.
But when you begin to look at it. So we're going to go, I'm going to scroll down until we get to the dragon. So it's the same thing that you were sharing, but this time it has the risen noon.
Right.
Right? Has the risen noon on the suffix.
Right.
And the aleph. So they are sealed as one, as being one.
Yeah.
With source. They are the teachers. They have the thousandfold Christ anointing, and they took the two paths.
Right.
The two spiritual paths that gave them power. Go
into the verse when it talks about, and I will whistle for my people. Do you have that verse?
I can pull it up very quickly.
It says, I will whistle for my people. Because we have to, again, when we say God is so removed as far as it's this and how could it be anything else. But when we really look at it, and we can see a language, I have it in my file if you don't have it.
I'm going to pull it up right now.
Okay. And just pull up the word for whistle. Because we have to see, because again, God's coming in the form of those. God's outside of this, but the indwelling is going to be a people. I will whistle. Can you hit that?
Yeah.
If that's the one that I'm looking for. There you go. First word. To hiss.
Right.
So, again, we have a serpent, and the Father says that I will whistle for my people. They put a whistle there, but again, in this language, it's going like, is a hiss a bad thing? Now, I've already had dreams about this, and him waking me up with a hiss or a sound of a psst sound.
Right, right.
And I was going like, what is this? But then in these verses, I'm going like, this sounds an awful lot like a dragon that, again, it's only a frequency. We're not to be freaked out by it, but we don't comprehend what's coming.
No.
Because if the frequency says it's a Sheen, Resh, Kuf.
Kuf, right. So this is Sar, this is a prince or a princess, right? That is the head, the leader, that has compressed light.
Right.
Within the circle of time by finding the narrow path between the light and the dark.
So it's almost like a crackling fire that hisses and whistles because it's red hot. It's kind of that kind of a language, but it's directly connected to reinforce a potential dragon. But again, dragon and serpent and jackal are only frequencies and types and shadows to say that these are those that overstand death through the life frequency of love, and
they've trampled it down.
Much.
Yeah, they've trampled it down and they overstand.
They are now a measuring rod in the earth, and they will be coming as a representation of the judges in the earth to turn things back to the measure of intention.
Yep. And it's the Aleph. Look at that. Fire.
And I will redeem.
The one fire.
Right.
For the Father's revelation.
Right.
And I will redeem them.
Right. I will gather them and I will redeem them.
Kibbutz.
Yeah.
Which is actually, that's actually a vowel point, by the way. It's the one that looks like the stair steps.
Right.
Which is connected to ascension. You gather the pieces of light, right? Gather what you need to compress light within you to build love. Right. It's going to put you on a journey, a spiritual journey where you're going to hunt and chase that which you desire to complete. So you're now in the waters above.
Right. So that's all I really wanted to share with this one right now, and just left it with Anubis, Annunaki, Annunaki, right?
And again, just for people to look at it, the dragon is not what we think it is.
And we're going to do that.
And it's the red dragon. And we already earlier on went to the red with Edom.
Right. Right. And so maybe tomorrow we can go into who these are, because it's based on a frequency that we're doing right now, that we're sharing, that if we can see this correctly, there's something going on that definitely the writers did not want us to see the potential, or at least it was a separation to say the only way you can see this greater potential is to render clear the lesser's narrative.
Exactly.
And if you're able to render clear the lesser's narrative, then you're able to clearly see the greater's perspective and opportunity.
And then you take the sting out of death.
Right. And this is where we can see this, is that this is the new man, Anubis. From Anu, the abyss, comes those. And we can break down what the locusts really are, because they are the ones that are feeding and eating. We'll do that next time. But that's all I really wanted to share with this. So
that's big.
Shalom, shalom.